This is Bruce. Bruce is a 4-year-old pit mix. I found him because my friend mentioned he was just moping around the neighborhood around this house. And it was actually his former house. And he would just circle the house day by day. And he was in rough shape. And turns out that his former owners abandoned him there. And that's why he just kept circling the house, waiting to get let in. And we were thinking, how could we make this right? So we slowly started to build his trust, trying to build his trust up. And I would just drop treats in the driveway and walk off. And then 30 seconds later, he'd come and get them. And he'd always run away from me if he saw me. But eventually, after a few hours of doing that, bringing back peanut butter, not just kibble, some good stuff, he started warming up to me. And eventually, I got so close to him. I was kneeling down. I got so close to him, he actually laid next to me. And I could pet him. And I was like, wow, it was an amazing feeling. And that's what this is here. And the only food, we saw him through the window, he was just eating through this kitchen sink in the driveway, an abandoned kitchen sink in the driveway with those food scraps right there. That's all he had. And we're like, oh, they must have left him some water and food. But no, I went over there and it's just that. Here, I brought him into my car. I eventually got him. He was gentle on the leash. And I brought him inside. And here he is on his first couch in a while, probably. And he was pretty comfortable. He's just making himself home here. And I didn't plan on keeping him. I tried researching rescues and different places to take him in, and they were all full at the time. And I didn't want to take him to the shelter, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep him for now. And it's been a good time. It's been a joyful time. It's been a great time. Bruce came out of his shell a lot. He definitely had no training at all. He didn't know what a leash was. And so when we took him on nature trails, he went crazy. He'd be running around, sprinting around. I was happy that we were able to get him back because he was going crazy, like this right here. But he loves to run. Great day out in the field. I wonder what's behind me. And at first I was afraid because I have two other big dogs, two males, Rocco and Goofy, as you can see here. And I was afraid that they wouldn't get along, but they actually got along great. Rocco is a little bit more dominant, but he's still submissive. He's scared, really. He's kind of a scaredy cat. And Goofy is just kind of very laid back. And they actually got along great. The only thing is, there's some resource guarding quirks, which I don't blame Bruce for having because he was, left to fend for himself. That's the only thing he knows, really. And Rocco is a little spoiled brat sometimes, and it kind of doesn't mix well with the two. And that's why they got into it sometimes. But they got along great. I was working on food responsiveness, and they were very good with that. They started playing together, and I was super ecstatic. I was super ecstatic when they started playing together because it was a huge relief. And I know it wasn't all, settled, but it was a huge relief to see that. And they were playing gently, too. And, basically, Bruce just got settled into my house. And I'd take him out into the field all the time just to run around. Easy little boy. Give him belly rubs. Do everything with him. And he was just the biggest part of all my dogs were, but he was main focus because I wanted to rehabilitate him. I wanted to get him into a good position so he could be the best he could be. Because he was running out of the house whenever I opened the door and stuff like that, and I didn't want him to have that status of the crazy pit bull. And eventually, I was able to train him to not do that stuff, and I'd help train him to just sit and stay and just the simple things. And I'm just going off of YouTube here and just my own beliefs. I'm not the best at it, but that's what I was doing with him. And he was doing great. It was just literally like a little project for me. It was a project for myself too, to see how far I could go with this. And it was great. And it just taught me a lot about myself too, to be more positive and not get as frustrated because they feed off that frustration. And I was happy to provide him well, I was happy to learn how to control my frustration as well. And here I am just teaching him to sit while I'm running around. Sometimes he messed up, sometimes he didn't. That's okay, because we'll just restart and do it again. And it's most importantly to have fun with it. The resource garden quirks that Bruce had was really, at first it was just toys. And then I'd like to think that I helped him out a lot with that, because he stopped growling whenever they came around the corner. He used to growl with the toys. He'd be like, this is my toy. And eventually, just more and more, as I kept assimilating them, he just stopped doing that. And they were fine. They would never really do that over toys or food or anything. But one day there was a fight with Bruce and Rocco over my mom at the door, because she came in and they both wanted to greet her. And it was my fault. I kind of set them up for failure there, because I never really stopped them. I never really tried training them not to jump on guests or run at guests and greet them. And that was my fault completely. But that kind of tipped over my mom. Since I lived with my mom, that kind of was like, okay. And it was scary to me too. And Rocco was fine, but he was a little injured on his ear and his neck, but he was okay. It was nothing major, nothing severe, but it was scary because it lasted a while and it was hard to separate them. And so I felt like I kind of failed them there. And with that being said, it was hard to keep them in the same house, because I'm not trying to put it all on my mom, but it's me too. My lack of knowledge, my lack of understanding at the time. So the only choice I had was either to bring him to a shelter immediately, and I was like, heck no, I'm not doing that. Or hold on to him just a little bit more and bring him to a rescue. And finally, I was able to bring him into a rescue after about like 3 months of having him. And it was very difficult for me to do, because I felt like I could give him. I felt like I could do it, really. I was very motivated to do it. But after that fight, it just really put my spirits down. And I was just questioning if Rocco was going to be the happiest and Bruce was going to be the happiest. And I didn't want them to be competing all the time. And just, it's hard to do it. If it was my own place, I'd be doing it. But it's hard to do it with 2 other people in the house that... and it's just very hard, because there's a lot of factors that go into that. And but I tried my best, and I decided to bring him to the rescue, and instead of bringing him to the shelter or making him, so I brought him to the rescue, and I cried a little bit. I can't lie, but I think it was the best for him, and I'm trying to find another place where I could be in a better situation, so I could bring him back in, and for us to be together again, and for everybody to be together again. But I do want to also give him a chance to have a home with him being the star of the show, which is hard to say. It's hard to admit that, but I would love for him to be the center of attention instead of me tending to 3 dogs at once. But whatever happens really is what happens. But I would really be happy if I could find him. If I could find a place where we could all be together.